How am I? Am I live? Live video starting. There we go. Good morning. Okay, here's the deal. Uh, we have at this point realized that I'm not really sure what I'm doing, right? I hope. Okay, so what I'm going to try to do is I set up another monitor. It's there. It's there. it's it's that. No, it's that way. All right, so I'm going to see if I can get this on the other monitor so I can see your comments. So while I'm looking off like I've lost my mind, bear with me. So what I need to do over here, I think, is make that do something. And then presumably it's going to come up and it's going to say, oh, I'm live. All right, what happens if I do that? But I have to mute that. Okay, so, oh, all right, let me see. Hi, Charles. And see what happens. Did that work? I honestly have no idea if this is going to work, but I've been reading up on waiting for live video signal. It should resume shortly. Okay, so there we go. Hey, it worked. All right, hang on a second. All right. Can you imagine what I was like when I was a really eager little kid? My poor parents. No wonder they died young. All right. So on this other monitor, which is to my... Nope. It's to... No, it's that. It's on the my right, which is your left. On the other monitor, it says, waiting for live signal. The broadcast is waiting for a signal. It should resume shortly. Okay, so it looks like it's working. Thank you, Charles. Thank you. It looks like it's working. Illusion? Reality. It looks like it's working. At least I can talk. I can talk. Charles, nod your head if you can hear me. Oh, wait, I'm looking over here. Charles, are you going to answer me? Not say something if it's working. Is it working? Charles? Tap, tap. Is this thing on? All right, I will carry on. What time is it? Oh, I still have 3 minutes. All right. So here's what happened the other day. I decided to actually read up on doing these things. Apparently there are videos on how to do a video. Why don't they? So I'm reading this, and then I'm talking to Billy, who is, of course, this fabulous tech guru friend of mine, and he said, everybody who knows what they're doing has a second monitor. And I said, well, I was going to get a second monitor. I didn't know if... Lie. So I got a second monitor. And then there was a fair amount of muttering and mumbling and screaming and yelling and trying to figure out how to hook it up without knocking the lamp off the table and, you know, usual. Okay. Oh, works good. All right. Charles, you are my go-to. You are my my stage tech. And by the way, how are you feeling? Are you feeling better? Poor Charles. He and his lovely wife went on a getaway to see if they could live someplace else because they currently live in the path of, I guess, the direct flow traffic for hurricanes. And they went to look at someplace else, and then they drove through the night to avoid another storm to get home. And he was feeling like garbage, really, dragged in out of the rain. So he was saying it's just awful. We've got something really awful and deadly. And so the minute somebody says I'm not 100%, I'm thinking, oh dear, well, push fluids and, I don't know, do whatever. So he just said, oh, thank you. All right, I'm actually in communication with people. How about that? Okay, so the objective today, if I can manage to get through this without completely blowing it, and is to try to do this in a logical sequence. Sort of new ground, really, for me. uh, so I'm just reading, and Charles is saying that he's got to get rid of the mess. He thinks he's got COVID. Oh, darn. Well, be safe, be well, and I'm sending virtual hugs. Okay. So, a number of people who are really, really sweet, wonderful friends of mine, thanks to, first of all, the show. You can't do that on television. And secondly, the internet. Have reached out from time to time, chit-chatting about things, or they've just commented about something, and I horn in because I'm like that. And the other day, was it yesterday? Maybe the day before? Anyway, one of my lovely, didn't know they were going to become backstage crew, friends of mine from New York, Andy Conrad, was talking about an experience that he had in a store. So Andy doesn't look like a thug. He's a wonderful guy. And he was in a store, and the clerk was one of those keeners, who sort of keeps stepping on the back of your shoe and asking you for the 11,000th time if there was something. And right now, it's even more annoying than it normally is. We all, I'm sure, have at some time worked in retail. I know I've done it. And if you're on commission, it's sort of the hounds of hell are on your heels at all times, because you need to make that sale. You need to make a friend, and then you need to convince them to part with their money. And if there's a lot going on in your life, you can tend to forget that really that's your problem. What you're doing there is your problem. The reason the customer's there is for their agenda. It's very difficult to remember that when there's a whole lot of other swirl going on. And anyway, he was saying that it was really annoying. So I answered his comment, and I gave him the tips that I use. And the thing, of course, is that now Andy and I have met. We have worked together. So when I wrote the tips to him, his reply was great. He was laughing, and he said, "I can visualize this scene. I can hear you doing it, and I can't wait to try it." So we are all waiting for updates on what happens when Andy decides to channel me in his next retail experience. So, by the way, anyone who has decided to step in and watch and see exactly what kind of a train wreck this is going to be, I have a second monitor now, and I can actually, bearing in mind my abilities here, but I can actually see your comments, which means that if you write something, I'll reply. Yeah, live, like now. So, because I'm periodically looking over here to see if anybody has said anything. So, 7 comments. Who's commented? Is it just Charles and I hugging the page? Apparently it is. All right. So my second monitor is a little slow, and I apologize if I'm not brilliantly quick at this, but you know what? First day, first try, and the only way to practice live is by being live, and fortunately, I'm used to looking like I don't know what I'm doing. So there we are. So today I wanted to talk about 2 things. And the whole monitor answer you kind of horned in and became the third thing. One of the things that is troubling to me, and now while I'm looking down, it's that too low FPS thing going on, so I apologize. One of the things that is troubling to me, just as a regular human being, but also as somebody who spent a lot of time working with live audiences, it is not a fun thing to see people unhappy in an audience. You want, as an entertainer with any kind of compassion, you want them to be in a good place for them, for their sake, and also for the value of the show that you're doing, because if they're in a good place and you're in a good place, then we're all in a good place, and if I tell you a funny joke, you'll laugh, as opposed to just suddenly burst into broken sobbing, which is disconcerting for all of us. And And I have noticed that we are all really struggling in a kind of a, hey, good morning, Jean. Jean Stewart just said hi. All right then, it's working. We are all really struggling on a lot of levels right now. And I've talked about this before. I'm a military brat, and I just assume that everything's going to be different tomorrow because, by the way, and so I have become, I don't know, used to it? No. I think I've developed the scar tissue. I know that it caused me to be much more alert and aware and quick on my feet, because when you transfer to a new place, you never really know how long you're going to be there. They could say it's a year or 3 years. But for instance, when we went overseas, we had no plan. We didn't think we were going overseas. The person who was supposed to go overseas, I don't know, a few weeks before the intended departure, had a heart attack. And my dad was the next up. And so all of a sudden there's a phone call. Start packing. And my dad's saying, I'm sorry, what? Excuse me? And the next thing you know, they're yoinking me out of school in the middle of a school year, which very seldom happens. And there's no time to say goodbye. You just, pack the bags, get on the plane. And all right if I get work. So this happens with alarming frequency. For a long time it's alarming, and then after that it's just, situation normal, all screwed up. And I see this all around me with people who don't have the training. They don't have the training, they don't have the tools, they did their best, but no one can stay afraid. No one can stay focused indefinitely. I'll give you an example. The theory is that if women could remember exactly how much pain it was giving birth, that there would only ever be one child per family. But somehow they managed to forget those unforgettable moments, and they say, well, it couldn't have been that bad. Let's do it again. And, you can't scream forever. You can't be afraid forever. Eventually, you run out of energy. You run out of tears. You run out of, you're too tired. You're just too tired, and by the way, hungry. So let's go do this. And we lose our focus, we lose our attention, we lose our awareness of danger, and we walk out into oncoming traffic and then say, oh, geez, how can I be so stupid? That's where we are, because this is year 3 of this invisible thing. And it is also year 3 for people making decisions and then changing them. And when we were children, we didn't like that. We felt very nervous when mom or dad or the teacher said, we're going to do this now. And then the next day they said, we're not going to do this now. We would say, but what about, and it's a panicky thing. It feels like the ground is not solid beneath our feet. So that's huge. One thing I do know about that sensation of exhaustion is that it is a little better when we're not alone. Hang on a second. It's a little better when we're not alone, and by the way, we're not alone. Good morning, Lori. Good morning, Steve. Good morning, everybody. Surprise, surprise. I am able to see your comments in real time-ish and reply. So we actually have a conversation going on. How cool is that? So, we are having a conversation because I realized that I needed a second monitor so that I could watch and reply so that you felt heard and seen and acknowledged, because it matters. That's why people are on social media in the first place. They want to be seen. They want to be heard. They want to feel that they matter in some way. And we want to feel that our rights are respected, that our ability to make choices for ourselves, because we're grown up now. We're grown up. I can do what I want. You're not the boss of me. I'm grown up now. We feel that we should be allowed to make decisions for ourselves. And, when it's not, possible, because there's too much going on, it's frustrating. So already we're alone. Good morning, Steve Statham. Try being alone. Steve, I spend a lot of time alone. I hear what you're saying. What we can do, and what we actually do all the time, is we have conversations with ourselves. Have you ever noticed that when you're talking to somebody, they don't really hear what you're saying? And then they say, I'm sorry, what? Well, it's not that they were playing music or listening to a track that you couldn't see if they don't have their phone in their hand or their things in their ears. They're listening to their internal loop tape. We all have that. We all have an internal loop tape that's saying, you'll never lose those 5 pounds by Friday, and you might as well stay at home under the bed with your relatives. And so that can undermine our confidence. It can undermine our focus. It can undermine our belief in ourselves. Dan Jacobs. Abby, you're funny. Well, thank you, Dan. I do try. Where's the thing here? Okay. It can undermine our confidence when we're not quite sure who we should be paying attention to, who we should be listening to. And the thing is, we can change who we're listening to, because it's us we're listening to, right? We can change that person. We can change that persona, that character. And I'm talking about this a lot because it's leading me down a path to guide you, give you some different perspective, and also help me communicate with you and get you involved in what I'm doing. So, Vikings have a good heart, but they're selfish because there's this boat and we have all these oars and we need everybody in the boat with us. So, if you have a positive side to you, if anytime you have coffee, you feel a great deal better about the world in general, okay, then it's possible to say to yourself, I'm going to channel my coffee persona right now. In fact, I'm going to go get a coffee, I'm going to take a sip, and then I'm going to just pause for a second, and then I'm going to let that voice talk to me about whether or not I should apply for that job, or that diet is going to work by Friday. We can actually change the tone and the attitude of that person we listen to, because that person we're listening to is us. It's I was trying to come up with a name for it yesterday, and I thought it's kind of a me, not me, but that sounds crazy. So I'm still going to be digging for the right word. Alter ego sounds, I don't know, dishonest, but I don't mean it to be that way. I mean that it is a side of us that is real and pops up when the call comes out. So I'm going to give you an example of those internal me people that we all have in our heads, right? If you have a small pet, and you have this pet close to you, and you say to the pet, who's a good boy? Who's a good boy? Okay. I want you to think about the way you would say it. Oh, Louie's mommy's little, but whatever unfortunate voice that was, whatever voice you use. Now, I want you to pause for a second and think about using that voice and that tone when you go to work and you talk to your boss, who has said you can leave early on Friday. Charles goes into work when he's feeling better. Picture this. Charles goes into work when he's feeling better, and his boss says, Charles, I understand you haven't been feeling well, and I feel for you. You can leave early on Friday. Charles, can you imagine yourself saying, who's a good boy? That would might be the wrong choice of me, not me, perhaps, in the given situation. That's what I'm talking about. We all have, many of us, inside our heads, logged in there somewhere. And it's helpful to recognize them. I give them names because I'm a writer and I do that. And I'm an actor and I do that. But you don't have to give them a name. You can just remember the situation. Who is the person, and what is the mood that that person has when it's a disgusting day out, and you walk into the kitchen and somebody has made tomato soup and a grilled cheese sandwich. Now, I don't know about you, but for me, that's an immediate revert to my childhood when I was tired or had a cold, or I would come home and my mom would have made tomato soup and a grilled cheese sandwich. On a really nasty, rainy, spring day, tomato soup and a grilled cheese sandwich. And instantly that I could smell that, it was a hug of mammoth proportions. And I would feel just loved. And I would say, "Oh, Mom, thank you. Oh." And I would almost cry because everything was going to be okay right now because of the tomato soup and the grilled cheese sandwich. Today, right now, or yesterday when it was snowing everything, if I had walked into my kitchen and somebody had broken in and made tomato soup and a grilled cheese sandwich, I would not have said, "What are you doing in my kitchen?" I would have said, "Oh, thank you so much. Could you put the gun down?" I mean, I would instantly revert to how good that memory was. I would be that person while I was experiencing that memory moment. And I know we all do it. These are survival mechanisms that we all have. These are our other me, our me not me, that we call on without realizing it. So here's the deal. The description I gave for the video today was that when you watch professionals do stuff and it looks really easy, it turns out they practice. If we want to get really good at finding the me not me, the alter ego, best suited to help us through this moment, whatever this moment happens to be, we need to practice. And the way we start to practice is by identifying who they are, remembering the moments. Look through a photo album, scroll back through Facebook. If somebody made you laugh, or you saw something that was just a moment, okay, which part of you is that? Who's that? Because that person is a huge asset to you. And it's important for you to realize that you own that talent. You have that talent. You are capable of not feeling alone, even when you are alone. As soon as you realize that you've got a lot of support within you. You've got your inner child, you've got your me not me, and you have people who really care, who can say, "How did that work for you?" People like me. So that was the first thing I wanted to say today, is that we can't change the fact that there's a hurricane. We can't change the fact that the snow is falling sideways. We can't change the fact that it hasn't stopped raining for 3 weeks and my car looks like a raisin outside. We can't change those things. What we can change is how helpless we feel, how anxious we are, how angry we are, how frustrated. We can change that, not by becoming somebody different, but by reaching inside and finding the best us to help us through it. Because we already are all the things we ever need to be. We already are. They're all inside us. We need practice. We need coaching. We need training. And I'm right here if you have any questions. How do you do that? How do you go there? How do you get rid of when you're sad? How do you turn that around? That's a hard one. That's a really hard one. And one of the most difficult things we deal with as a kind of, on top of the cake of despair, we have icing and cherries and sprinkles of well-meaning people who say, it's just in your head. You need to get over it. Okay. If you can't think of something helpful to say, the fact is, we are all genetically designed to survive. One of the ways we survive is by recognizing when we're overwhelmed, and we give ourselves permission to rest, to step back. If we're exhausted, if we're confused, if we're grieving, we have permission. Animals go to ground. Animals hide until they're well, and then they come back to fight the good fight. And we're animals. We're just like that. The rush to be better, to feel better, to be on top, before we're ready, is not helpful. That I know. It takes longer than we think. And one of these days, I'll talk about some of those things, because I've lived them. And I'm not the only one. I'm one of all of us. So, that's the serious side of this. That is the important, in writing and acting, it's called the backstory. It's the context for the fun part of today's little video. And glad to hear you've grown up. I'm still trying to figure out what I'm going to be when I grow up. Thank you, Jean. Jean, aim for taller. Aim for taller. It usually works. It worked for me. And then, of course, sadly, all those things you wore so well when you were 10 don't fit anymore, but on the bright side, there's a reason to go shopping. So, the fun part of this conversation today is about channeling the person in order to communicate effectively. Communicate with confidence. So back to Andy Conrad. Andy Conrad goes into this store, and this sales rep is all over Andy because presumably he's on commission. So I said to Andy, when that happens to me, I do this. I give them 3 questions. And I smile politely when I'm doing it. Now I'm going to tell you in reverse what I told him. What I told him was, here are the 3 questions, and I wrote them down. And then I told him how I do it. So I'm going to tell you in reverse. The 3 questions I ask of a salesperson who won't go away. The person, the me not me that I channel to do it, is mom. So right away, well, I'm gentler really, and smiling brightly, and entirely focused on everything going well. Right? That's mom. That's mom. And the voice, my voice is a little higher. Okay, so that's who I channel. So the person comes up and they won't go away, and they've done everything, and they're right there. They're right there. So I turn on them and I say, "Hi, may I help you?" And then I wait. And the reason I wait, and I try to wait as long as I can without actually blinking, which is really unnerving, by the way. Have you ever had somebody do that to you? "Hi, may I help you?" And the reason it's unnerving to the sales rep is that that's their line. And they may have already used it on you. So they don't really have an answer when you ask them. So whatever it is they say is not giving them the control. The control has been taken from them. And that's the whole point of this exercise. So that's the first thing I say to them. The second thing I say to them, if they're still there, I turn on them again, because I, after they've answered or not answered, I smile brightly and I go back looking for whatever it is in 3 sizes smaller than I can legitimately wear, of course. And when they're still there, I turn and I say, Was there something in particular you were looking for today? And I use the past tense. They always use the past tense. Were you looking for anything in particular? Was there something you were looking for in particular today? And then if they answer or don't answer, I just turn back. And the third one that I do is I say, well, thank you so much for stopping by. And then I leave the store. Now I do that for two reasons. One is because I love getting even. It's one of my favorite things. It's right after I told you so. I love getting even, but I like getting even in a way that doesn't look like I'm getting even. I like getting even in a way that puts people a little off balance. Because then if I were so inclined, I can go in for the kill. And so I like putting people in a position where they're the ones going, wait, what? And checking. Because as soon as you do that, they're not on their best game. And whatever next thing you do, you win. Which is what survival is. You want to overcome the overwhelming odds and turn things in your favor. Always. That's what survival is all about. So, in the same way that we are overwhelmed by someone, for instance, in a line at a store, standing too close, because probably they're not paying attention. They're disoriented. They're wondering if they've got everything on the list. Did I put creamed corn on the list or not? I can't remember what's in my purse. Oh, wait. And so, but they're having that internal conversation with themselves. They're litigating an argument with somebody that isn't even right here. And so they haven't noticed that they're right there beside you. If you turn to them and say, hi, was there something I could help you with today? And you channel mom, and I give you my permission. Go ahead. You don't even need to wear the gloves. You can do mom without the gloves. I did it for a whole year. If you do that, you haven't attacked them. You haven't called them on their right to be who they are. You have said something completely irrelevant, and yet so politely that it's difficult for them to be annoyed with you. I mean, what are they going to say? I'm just moving ahead for the, 2-meter thing. And smile and nod and mom them to death. Mom them to death. So that is the example. That is the practice lesson. Remember back in school, you had exercises in the book you could practice. And then the teacher said, good, now that you've figured out the practice, here's your homework. You'll be working on pages through 200 to 463 for tomorrow. So your homework in taking back the power, in taking back your confidence that we got this. We got it somewhere. I know we have it somewhere. And together we're going to figure out where. The last thing I want to tell you about this is you get to get the characters wrong and see how they work. They won't work well when you get them wrong, but that's okay because you're never going to see them again and you can get it right the next time. My grandmother used to say that her favorite people to talk to were people she met on the bus because she could tell them anything, secure in the knowledge that she would never have to see them again. So you don't get fired, you don't get rejected from the boat for giving it a try. You don't get rejected from the boat if you don't give it a try. If you do give it a try, it's an opportunity to see if the tool that works for me works for you. And then, after we do it once, I'll come up with another example, and I'll come up with a different character. to give you more opportunities and more exercises to practice yourself. Does that sound reasonable? Okay, so here we are. It's 10:29. I have actually been able to talk to some people, and that's really exciting. And for the people who missed it, just as I wrap up today, who joined us late, I've added a second monitor. I figured out how to connect a second monitor. I've got a second monitor, and I've got this live thing on the second monitor, so I can see the comments coming up when they're typed. They're not happening instantaneously because real time is a fluid term, but they are happening. So I'm able to nod and say hello, and if you scroll through and you see the comments, you'll see that I've liked them, and when you listen back to the video, you'll see that I actually had a conversation. And that's what I'm going to do moving forward. So Thursday, we're going to be back, 10 o'clock, me and my me not me's, and I have another pretty silly example to share with you. So until then, be good to you. Start thinking about your alter egos, the ones that you think you could have the most fun with, and I'll catch you next time.